All right, picture this. You're stepping into a dimly lit recording studio in the early 70s. The air is thick with anticipation, and right at the center of the room sits an artist who is about to record a track that will literally define a generation. Today, in this explainer, we're diving deep into the origin story, the absolute genesis of Roberta Flack's monumental 1972 hit, The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face. And we aren't just going to look at dry chart data or record sales today. No, we're stepping right back into that exact moment of creation to understand how a massive cultural touchstone actually begins.
So what actually is the genesis of a #1 hit? It's a totally fascinating question when you really stop to think about it. Because a song doesn't just instantly appear at the pinnacle of cultural consciousness, right? It doesn't just spontaneously erupt at the summit of the charts. It starts as a seed, a tiny idea, a fleeting feeling, just a quiet moment captured in time. And we want to understand the DNA of that journey today. We're going to look closely at those foundational elements that propel a piece of art from its humble conception all the way to absolute cultural dominance.
Now, to truly appreciate this incredible journey, we have to ground ourselves in that starting point, the genesis. Basically, the origin or mode of formation of something. It's a really powerful concept because it points us directly to the exact, specific conditions that allowed a piece of music to take shape. The story of this track, well, it isn't just about the peak of its success or the awards it won. It's really about that initial mode of formation. It's about uncovering the precise spark that eventually solidified into a permanent artifact in music history.
And that spark, it found its absolute perfect environment in the year 1972. When we think back to the musical landscape of the early 70s, we're immediately transported to an era of incredibly rich, deep textures. Looking at some of the real archival pictures from that time, you can almost feel the warmth of the vocal booths, hear the crackle of vinyl records, and sense the deeply tangible, soulful atmosphere present in those recording studios. 1972 wasn't just a random backdrop, it provided the exact cultural and musical climate needed for this specific sound to resonate with millions. That was the year this quiet genesis we're talking about actually materialized into a defining milestone.
But there is an extraordinary leap that has to happen between the quiet, intimate origins of a track and its ultimate destiny as a chart-topping sensation. The journey from a humble genesis to a universally recognized #1 hit, yeah, that is rarely a straight line. It requires magic, impeccable timing, and just undeniable talent. How does a deeply personal sentiment translate into massively public, universal perfection? That gap, that crazy transformation from a closed-door recording session to global recognition is exactly what makes this particular story so captivating.
A huge part of bridging that gap comes down to the raw emotional vulnerability of the song itself. The first time ever I saw your face. Before a single note of music is even played, those words stand entirely alone as a masterpiece of sentiment. And seeing them over these real, authentic archival photographs from the era really reminds us that this isn't just a sterile piece of chart history, it's a real lived emotion. It was captured in a real year, sung by real people who deeply felt the weight of every single syllable they were putting onto that tape.
That phrase itself, "the first time ever I saw your face," is just an incredibly arresting statement, isn't it? It distills this massive, universal human experience into a single perfect thought. When we look for the true genesis of this #1 hit, we absolutely have to recognize that its entire foundation is built on the raw power of these specific words. This title was the ultimate hook. It was the emotional anchor that caught the hearts of listeners back in 1972 and, honestly, simply refused to let go.
But let's be real, that beautiful poetry means absolutely nothing without the right messenger. Seeing these authentic, real photographs of Roberta Flack in her element, completely immersed in the music, we are looking at the vital human architect of this milestone. You simply cannot have this hit without the specific voice, the specific soul, and the singular interpretive genius that she brought into the studio. She took a beautiful lyric and breathed profound life right into it. Roberta Flack was the undeniable catalyst that transformed a quiet genesis into a roaring #1 hit.
So when you pull all of these pieces together, you really start to see the clear anatomy of a historical milestone. You have the unmistakable talent of Roberta Flack. You have the deep emotional weight of The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face. You have the perfect cultural timing of 1972. And, of course, you have that definitive journey from its origins to a chart-topping achievement. Every single one of these pillars is absolutely critical to the story. Think about it. Remove the artist, and the song doesn't exist. Change the year, and the cultural context is entirely lost.
These core elements didn't just casually bump into each other. They aligned perfectly to create an enduring piece of musical history. The time, the visionary artists, the unforgettable emotional core, and that magical starting point.
They all work together in absolute harmony. This right here, this is the recipe for timelessness. It's exactly how a song cements itself into the historical record, ensuring that it isn't just a fleeting trend playing on the radio, but a permanent fixture embedded deeply in our culture.
So, what does this all mean for us now? How does the genesis of this 1972 milestone continue to resonate as a definitive #1 hit today? Well, we've explored the era, the artist, the poetry, and that phenomenal journey from origin to pinnacle. But the real magic of a true masterpiece is that its genesis never really stops echoing. The profound emotion Roberta Flack captured in that studio over 50 years ago is literally still felt by anyone who hears those opening notes today. Keep questioning the origins of the art you love, and I'll catch you in our next explainer.